clarity is such a key piece here, Rocky. It's so key. Clarity in your process, clarity in your people, clarity in your clients, clarity in your culture, clarity in your books. If you have a clear picture that you can basically say to the business broker, here you go, and they can say, this looks good, I can sell this, away you go.
Hey, it's the Profit Answer Man, Rocky Lalvani. If you're new to the podcast, check out my interview with Mike Michalowicz. It's episode number 2. If you want to hear about each chapter in the Profit First book, go back and listen to episodes 3 through 13. Episode 1 is the why and how. On the Profit Answer Man, we learn money mastery without all the complicated accounting mumbo-jumbo using a simple system. Your accountant is busy documenting your transactions and creating a rearview mirror of what happened. My guess is you don't even look at the reports they sent you. If you're like most business owners, you struggle with this, and it's not your fault. We aren't taught money in school, and accountants aren't taught how to be profitable. The Profit First system created by Mike Michalowicz works, and he certified me to help you implement the system in your business. Remember, the new equation is sales minus profit equals expenses. Let's face it, without cash flow, you can't pay your employees, buy needed materials, or pay your mortgage and support your family. I help you to do that and more, so you can focus on the parts of the business you love and receive the rewards for your labor and investment into your business. The stronger you are as a business owner, the more jobs you create, the better we are as a country. Small business owners are the backbone of America, and for that, you deserve to be well rewarded. Just remember, more revenue does not equal more profit. That's why we focus on the bottom line. Our guest today, Pete Mohr, was on before. It was episode 108, the 5 Ps, including my favorite one, profit. Go back and check it out if you haven't had a chance. Today, we're going to talk about having your business be exit ready. I don't care if you want to sell your business. It's irrelevant. Why? Because exit ready businesses are businesses that operate without you being the keystone of the entire business. That means that you've got a well-run system that's highly profitable and you are not stuck at the center of it. So business becomes more enjoyable, more fun. You stop being the operator of the business. You become the owner of the business. Pete helps business owners transform from operators to owners by using a variety of frameworks that help them cut through the chaos and overwhelm of running a business. He's refined his tips, tools, and techniques within his own businesses over the last 29 years and loves sharing them. I love when we get real-world entrepreneurs on to share their stories. Let's learn from Pete. Welcome back to the Profit Answer Man, Pete Mohr. It's great to have you join us today.
So great to be here again, Rocky. I can't believe, looking back, it's been 2 years, man. Time flies.
Time does fly. Can you remind people a little bit about yourself and your business?
Absolutely. You know, I've been a lifelong entrepreneur, and I'm so excited, actually, because one of the businesses that I owned, I started in 1994, August of 1994. And as we're recording this, it's July 2024. So it's coming up on its 30th year. And the owner that bought it from me 15 years ago called me up and he said, Pete, you owned it for 15 years. I've owned it for 15 years. And I mean, I think that's really interesting when you look at some of that stuff. That was a bathroom renovation company. We've had cleaning businesses that we bought at 30 customers, sold at 300, 10 times them. I used to be a business broker helping people buy and sell businesses, which is how I found the business that I still run 14 years later, which is called Shoetopia. We own some shoe stores here in Ontario. And these days I hang my hat, coaching business owners and helping them through their frustrations, getting them exit ready, working through teamwork and all sorts of stuff with Colby. And, just I love working with business owners, talking business and all that sort of stuff. And one of the things I've been able to do over the years was sort of get to a point where I've worked myself out of a job because I've got a great team, a great system, and I don't have to do a whole lot in our shoe stores anymore. So I get to have great conversations with people like you and the people that are listening to the podcast today.
And, that begs a question, because everyone wants to know, what are the biggest frustrations business owners face?
A lot of them are really self-inflicted, Rocky.
Okay.
And it's interesting stuff, but it's like, oh, I don't have any time. Well, when it comes down to the time, that's a big one for a lot of business owners that have been at it a while, right? It's like, I want to actually take a vacation. I want to get away. I don't want to have to open the store. I don't want to have to make all the sales calls. I don't have to hire every employee, whatever the case is. And they feel as though they have this weight of 20,000 pounds on their shoulders, weighing them down. And that kind of grows, and it's pretty natural as you grow your business, because starting off the business, it's like you have to do all that stuff unless you've got a big back pocket and you can just start hiring all those things off the bat. But that's not the case for most small business owners and entrepreneurs and founders that are kicking off stuff. They got to do it themselves. Well, one of the things is that you get habitualized into making all the decisions. And like any other habit, any other addiction, any other issue around that, it just happens, and it's hard to break that habit. And so it takes actual brain juices and power to think, okay, I'm actually going to let somebody else make a decision. Well, how do you do that? It's usually, I've got a framework called the CPA, and it's usually around better communication, better process management, and better accountability within your organization. Because when you have all three of those things and they are working in a seamless manner that make things happen in your business without you, you can enjoy a little bit more freedom. You can maybe not answer every phone call, maybe go away on a vacation for longer than a day. One of the questions I ask, because I do a lot of work, Rocky, around, are you exit ready? And I know we're going to chat a little bit about that. But one of the questions I ask a lot of the business owners, when was the last time you took a full week away without your phone, like without the ability for anybody at work to contact you? And if they say, oh, I do that regularly. Okay, when was the last time you took a month away? Have you taken a month sabbatical off of your business without any contact, no emails, no phone? Because most business owners leave, they go away on vacation, the phone's attached to their hip, they're answering calls, they're answering texts, they're answering emails, all this stuff. And that's not going away on a vacation, that's working from another location.
That is correct. And I get it. And one of the reasons that I love businesses to be exit ready is not that the business owner wants to exit. It means that you've got systems and processes in place. The business owner doesn't need to be there, right? Other people can handle things. They are not a bottleneck in any part of the system. You've got a wide diversity of suppliers, clients, and things work without you, which means that you as the business owner are now the business owner and not the business operator. And I think that's a big part of this. So I know people listening, you may not want to sell your business. I don't care. This isn't really about selling your business unless you want to. This is really about having a business that's fun, like you dreamed of when you started it, and you're making good money. Because at the end of the day, well, let's talk about that. How are businesses valued usually from a sales standpoint?
It really depends. It depends on your area, what you work in, whether you're a retailer or an auto body shop or, a carpet installer or an accountant. There are so many different ways of sort of looking at the book of business. But ultimately, getting back to, this is the, podcast about profit. If the business isn't profitable, it's very hard to sell that business. And it really doesn't matter, because the multiple, whatever multiple you put on zero is still zero.
Which means that you need to be profitable.
Mm-hmm.
And the more profit you have, of course, the more your business is worth. Now,
Right.
unfortunately, you are going to have to pay taxes.
Yeah.
However, there are ways to pay yourself tax-free. And usually that's retirement accounts, profit sharing, some other ways to do things where you still get to keep the money. Too many business owners will spend money not to pay taxes, and it's silly to spend $1 to save 30 cents. I'd rather you just pay the 30 cents and keep the 70.
Yeah. There's a lot of different things. Like one of the things we do when we go in and people say, here's an interesting one too. So, well, there's a few things, and I think we can reel it back just a little bit. So why should you be exit ready in your business? Like you said, it's not just about being exit ready because I want to sell my business within the next 2 to 5 years. It's about being exit. You should always be exit ready so that you have the choice of exiting when and if you need to. Because the biggest thing, Rocky, is that as much as you are planning down the road someday to have this successful exit, only about 50% of the businesses get to a planned exit. About 50% of the businesses in North America are unplanned exit, which basically revolves around death, disability. Divorce takes a lot of businesses down. Partnership disagreements take a lot of businesses down. Distress, financial distress, things like COVID took a lot of businesses down. And you're not planning for that. But if these things happen and you're not exit ready, there's a big problem, and you're leaving a lot of value and legacy dollars for you and your family on the table by not being exit ready. So whether you're looking for the future of saying, I want a successful exit, or whether you have to exit for any given reason, and I'm sure if, a lot of business owners listen to this podcast, I'm sure you know somebody who has had to exit their business for one of those reasons that I just mentioned. And there's a good chance they weren't exit ready and they left money on the table. And if your business is running on rails, and if your business can make decisions without you, and if your business is profitable, think of how much easier that business would be to sell than if you have to go back and work through all of those things while you have cancer or whatever the case is, and you're trying to do all of this stuff to get your business to a point where it's actually sellable in your period of heavy distress. You know what? Being exit ready is just good business strategy.
It is. And I think exit ready businesses are probably more profitable. I just assume that because you've got systems and processes in place, things are documented, there's not what I will call wastage.
Yeah.
I'm always amazed at when you look at the books, how much money businesses tend to waste in that whole process. And so I totally agree with you. So let's just kind of dig in. What does it mean to be exit ready? Like, what are the different things that you're looking at that makes somebody in that space?
Well, from the financial side of things, it's like, how clear are your books? How clean are your books? Is there a motorhome on your balance sheet that shouldn't really be on your balance sheet? Is there a Porsche? Is there a cottage that you use once a year for business retreats that you're writing off? Like, all of these things seem like they're good ideas because you can get your profit down so that you can get, your income down on your profit and loss sheet so that you can pay less taxes. But at the same time, if you're trying to sell your business, you have to recast all of that. And it's up to the new owner to kind of look at all this stuff and whether or not they believe the arguments that you'd given to, to tell them, well, my business is actually a lot more profitable than it looks like on my income statement. And it's like, okay, I'm not really sure it does, because if it was, then it'd be on your income statement, right? So all of these things, when we recast income statements, we recast balance sheets to get the true value in order to come back with that. It's a lot easier if they're already clean and you don't have to do all that work.
And that's true. One of the things I like to tell business owners, especially if they're more than one owner, is you should each have your own holding company.
Yeah.
And you keep the business clean. And then you play with all your yah-yah in your holding company.
Yep.
And that way the two of you aren't arguing, hey, I want an RV and I want a Porsche. Well, they don't
Yep.
match. So how do we do that inside the business? If you do it in your holding company, who cares? That's your problem.
Yeah.
That's his problem. And in this case, it also makes the business, you've got less of that inside of the company.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's one of the first things we do really is just to kind of say, okay, how clean are these statements? And let's go back over the last 3 years, see where we're at. Because here's one of the things, one of the kickoffs really is understanding what your business is worth. And most business owners don't know. They haven't actually had a valuation done. They really don't know. Their buddy at the golf course said he sold his business or her business for $1 million and yours should be worth that too. But, let's get down to the dirty and get you a valuation so that you can actually start looking as to whether this is the valuation you're expecting to see. Because if it's not, and that's what you're planning on, and about 80% of small business owners, their wealth is tied up in their business in North America, not in external facilities. So if 80% of your business is your nest egg, and that nest egg isn't worth nearly what you thought it was, that's a problem. And it's a big problem that faces a lot of business owners. So let's know what that is. And if we need to make some changes, this is where the coaching side of things comes in. It's like, okay, we need whatever, somewhere between 2 and 5 years usually to implement a lot of this stuff so that we can actually get it rolling. And then once we get it rolling, we're reinvesting back in the business and creating better process, which is a big one, because if all the process is in your head, that's a problem too. How can you transfer that to a new owner? We're documenting everything around your team. We're documenting everything around your process, your sales structure, your hiring structure, your firing structure, your opening procedures, your closing procedures. We're documenting everything and in many different ways because that's one of the things that you're selling. You're selling a proven process. Think about McDonald's. There's a certain way they build that Big Mac. Well, you need to do that same sort of thing for your business in order to prove the process and show them how the sales are made and how the profit is made in the business so that they can do that in comfort and in confidence when they take over without you.
And you don't have to stay there long afterwards, which no business owner likes to do. They think they do, but
They don't want to.
It's usually not a fun time.
No, it's not.
Out of curiosity, the biggest objection I get to all of that from the business owner is, when am I supposed to have time to build this? I'm too busy in my business.
I'll use this one. I use this one a lot, Rocky. So if you're doing payroll, for example, payroll is taking you 2 hours every 2-week period. Well, that's 52 hours a year that you are going to be doing payroll. So you're actually working payroll more than a week a year if you're spending 2 hours a week, when you look at that. So if you can't find 5 hours to do the process and open a Loom video and show them how to do the payroll and where to input the hours and stuff like that, and that takes you 5 hours or maybe 10. If it took you 10 hours so that you can align and assign this process to someone else on the accountability chart within your organization to knock off for you in confidence and to save you 42 hours in the future by spending 10 hours now, is that not a good trade-off?
Well, in what I always talks about are two things. One is what I call loves and drains. And the loves and drains exercise that we have is basically to say, what are the things I love doing in my business and what are the things I hate? Because whatever you hate in your business, you won't do. Or it will really be like pulling teeth. So the first thing to get off your plate are the drains.
Yeah.
Right. And if you love payroll, great. But what are the things you don't like? And then the second thing is to look at how much do each of these tasks actually, let's say, cost to do. And the question is, why are you doing $20 an hour work when you could be doing $500 an hour work? And that's the other key. And so that's kind of the way I think people need to think of it. And again, you got to learn to let go. And I know that's not always easy.
I have a very similar exercise that I put my clients through, and it's called Love It or Leave It, but very similar, exercise. Love it or leave it. And I find the real power with that, Rocky, is after you've done it, to let your team do it too.
Yes, because, and this to me is another major problem. Wrong person, wrong seat.
Yeah.
Right. And if everyone sits down and they write it down and you start to realize, oh, that one likes payroll,
Mm-hmm.
that one likes dealing with
Mm-hmm.
this, and that one, like, swap the duties. Like,
I know.
why are you
It's so
making people
crazy,
do
but
stuff they
I
don't like?
mean, I don't know why, so many small business owners hold on to this kind of stuff, but the real power comes when you can transfer this to your team. And that's why I love working with teams. It's, if we go back to episode 108, we talked about the 5 Ps when I was last with you a couple of years ago, but the 5 Ps, just to kind of refresh that, it's understanding your promise, aligning your process, your product, and your people to that so that you can have the right amount of profit. And in that people portion, it's such a big piece of your business and drives so much, can drive even more profit if you get people in the right seats. So by doing this sort of exercise with your people, and that's one of the reasons why I'm a Kolbe coach with the Kolbe system and Kolbe assessments, we start overlaying Kolbe and have a better understanding of each person on our team and how they make decisions. And sometimes it really pops out. It's like, wow, one of the reasons you're so frustrated is because this job is really not for you. Let's move you over here. And you see people flourish, right? And they love it and you love it. They're more productive. They don't feel bad at the end of the day. They feel energized because they're doing what they love to do, not what they want to leave doing. And so all of this stuff just meshes in perfectly as we build a better business, a more profitable business, a business that's more exit ready, and a business that offers more value to you and leaving your legacy to the family and all of the things that you may want to do with the money as you exit somewhere down the road, whether that's a year down the road or 20 years down the road, it doesn't matter.
Do you find many business owners use personality tests to help
Mm-hmm.
them put people in the right seats with the right jobs, both during the hiring process and then during the continued process, so to speak?
Yeah. So Colby, I mean, we could do another whole episode on Colby, but Colby is or 10. Colby is really the only one that's legally that I know of that you can use through the hiring process because it's unbiased. It has nothing to do with preferences. So when you look at DISC or Enneagram or Strength Finder or any of these other ones, and I love those too, but not for the hiring process. So the hiring process, Colby's all about how you make decisions, and it really doesn't matter if you are black or white, or if you're male or female, or if you're 20 or 40. It doesn't matter what you've learned. It doesn't matter any of that sort of stuff. It's got to do with who you are. It's your innate strengths around decision making. So it's a very different type of assessment, where most of these other ones really are around what you prefer, which is also a great thing to overlay onto the team once the team is built. But Colby, you can start really, you can use it in the hiring process. We have a whole right fit hiring system with Colby. And then, but I love my second favorite, Strength Finders. And I know I'm a bit of an assessment junkie, so I've pretty much taken them all. And I'm liking Genius as well for team building. It's a good one too.
Is that Working Genius?
Working Genius, yeah.
Yeah, I've been introduced to that one recently too.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize though that DISC or Myers-Briggs they kind of tell you what your personality's like. I didn't realize there were biases in there. I can see that there are biases in looking for a certain kind of person for a certain kind of role.
Right.
Don't doubt that at all.
But if you look at the questions that you would answer on those assessments, it says, what do you prefer, this or that, in almost all of those questions. And with Colby, it's more about how do you take action? Would you do this or would you do this? It's all about action taking. And for that reason, it's the doing part. So there's 3 parts of the mind. There's the cognitive, what you've learned over the years, right? Like your IQ test, all that sort of stuff. There's the emotional intelligence side, which is all the DISC and all of the ones I was just talking about. And emotional intelligence is hard because if anybody ever takes you to court because you basically scrub them from one of those haven't held up very well. So, and you don't want to get sued on something like that, right? Whereas Colby holds up every time. It's unbiased and it's been around for 50 years and it's perfectly good.
I was not aware of that. Thank you
There
for
you go.
sharing that.
Yeah.
So we got clean books.
Yeah.
We've got processes.
Yeah.
We've got right people in the right seats.
Yeah.
What else do we got to do?
You got to clean up your client list.
So what does that mean?
So if any one client is more than 10% of your revenue, that's a problem. So the idea here is you want to spread, just like taking risk out of anything else, right? Because a lot of times the business owner is attached to their big clients. And when the business owner leaves, that's a problem. So we got to look at the client list. If you have a lot of clients doing a little bit of volume, that's better than a few clients doing a lot of volume as far as a risk sort of assessment of that business. And if you have recurring revenue in your business, if you have a recurring revenue model, make sure that those contracts are strong. In footwear, we don't have a recurring revenue model. People come into come into our store and buy shoes when they want to buy them. But at the same time, if I had a recurring revenue model, like an ongoing course that is every month or whatever the case is, there's a lot more multiples around ongoing revenue like that. So it's an interesting thing to think about how you might be able to implement that in your business. The other thing is culture. The culture of your business. How are you thought of in your town, in your organization, or in your city, or within your associations? How do you show up? Are you a leader in culture, or are you a follower in culture? And can you prove that? And can you go through and say, "Hey, we've won this award. We've done this. Here's all the things. Here's the charities that we're involved with." All the different things. When you can show that you're a true community person in the community that you work in and do business in, it's a real value. I'm not saying a person, I'm saying your company is a true community player, right? And what are you doing for the community that you take money from when you invoice them?
And that makes a lot of sense. I think the better you are regarded in the company or in the community, then the more apt you're going to get people coming in, and
for sure
they respect you and all of that kind of stuff. And so
you need to, you really need to have clean books that are very understood. Clarity is such a key piece here, Rocky. It's so key. Clarity in your process, clarity in your people, clarity in your clients, clarity in your culture, clarity in your books. If you have a clear picture that you can basically say to the business broker, here you go, and they can say, this looks good, I can sell this, away you go.
Is there a reason you haven't created that subscription model for your shoe store?
Yeah, well, it's definitely something we've thought about. It's like, hey, can I just send you your pair of Birks every May 24th weekend and we're good to go? So, but
you got to send different ones for different seasons, right?
There you go. Yeah, we have a loyalty program, and there's other ways in retail that we measure returning customers and stuff like that, and we do measure that, but it's not necessarily a contract, right? And if you have a contract around certain things that are recurring, and it's like, hey, we just charge your Visa every year on this or every month on this, like a cable, cable subscription or any of these kind of things, those are very valuable, and you'll end up getting higher multiples for that.
Right.
But even being able to prove like an email list, right? Like if you can prove an email list and you can show that you have, 12,000 emails and you have an open rate of 60%, and industry standard in your industry is 30%. And out of that 60%, you have a higher click ratio and you have higher returning customers than industry standards. Like those things are available now. And if you can prove that, that's going to give you a better case to show the new owner that you're leading the charge. You're not in the middle of the pack, or you're not in behind. The more of these things that you can show that you're ahead of the game as far as any of the industry standards that you're able to get, so important on building the value of your business for that exit.
There's actually, and I don't remember the name of it, but there's actually an insurance company that markets to classic car owners. Mm-hmm. And they built that type of a following that everybody loves them and reads their stuff and is with them. And that's not easy to do, though.
No, it's not. But that's why I said earlier, you know what? If you're thinking of selling your business, don't think you're going to be out in 3 months.
No.
Unless you're okay to take a discounted value. Because it takes time to put these things in place, and you have to actually have proof in behind it. So not only do you have to put it in place, you have to let it run for a while to make sure and prove it, so that when you're actually presenting it to the new potential owner down the road, you can basically say, hey, we've been running this process for 3 years or 13 years, whatever the case is. And this is just how it works. And our team knows it and understands it. It's documented. It's in written format. It's in video format. It's in audio format. We train to it. It's onboarding, all of this kind of stuff. And it's there for you. And it's all easy to find. I call it the sure process management, which is searchable, understandable, reachable, and I can't even think of the last one, but basically it's been a while since I ran that one, but the last one is has around executable. There you go. Executable.
What was
and
up?
So you need to have all those things as part of your process, because if people can't find it, understand it, and basically execute it, it's not a good process.
Yeah. And I think we make this too difficult, right? It really isn't that hard to create basic videos in today's world. You don't need a studio. You need an iPhone, right? Or a screen recorder. Like if it's stuff on a screen, go click, show them where to click buttons, right?
Exactly.
Explain the why behind it.
Yeah.
And then whoever comes in can just follow the process. And
I mean, I'm sort of tool agnostic, but I mean, for that, we actually use one called Loom. It's just so easy. You pop up and you go around, and then Loom will transcribe it for you even, or you can pop it off and put it into Otter for a transcription. Take that transcription, put it into ChatGPT and tell them to write a process manual on it. And it will give you a process manual that's probably 70 or 80% of what you actually want. But one of the biggest reasons we don't do this, and you said it already earlier in the episode, was when do I have time to do that kind of stuff? Well, with these technologies today, if 80, getting started is 80% of getting it completed, right? And if you can get 80% of it completed literally within about 3 touches of a button after you hit stop on the recording, which you can now with these technologies, all you got to do is clean it up.
And you don't have to do it.
No.
Your people who are doing it can create their own process manuals.
For sure.
And update them as needed. And that's the other thing. If something changes, just teach them, hey, our process is when a system breaks, you update it.
Yes.
And if you're doing this little by little, it'll get done. Maybe it takes you a year. Who cares? Right. But at least it's being built out and it's easier to deliver and so forth.
Like, where do you start? You start with the low-hanging fruit. Mm-hmm. How do we open the store? Like when you come in the door, you unlock the checklist, right? I punch the code into the security system. I turn on the lights. I vacuum the floor. I do whatever the opening procedures are. And that's the opening checklist. And then you have a closing checklist. And then you have a banking checklist. And you have a hiring checklist. And all of these things, you're just building them along the way. And I got to tell you, when you start doing this, it gets a little addictive, because you can see people starting to actually use them. And you're like, oh my God, why didn't I do this like 10 years ago?
Well, and that is a struggle for some business owners, is to get the people to use the checklist. But I will tell you, when you use a checklist, you no longer are using thinking power. So you're literally can cruise down and go click, 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 click. You're not thinking, what do I have to do? Did I do it? Just go do it. And it is so much faster to get stuff done when you have a checklist. As a matter of fact, we're in the process of redoing some of our checklists.
There are no perfect processes, but we're always trying to perfect them, right? Yeah. And that's just a normal thing. You got to get something down, get it down. 80% is good, because it's better than not having anything. And you're always going to tweak it, make it a little better along the way. But I'll tell you what, as far as getting that valuation and getting your business exit ready, the new owner doesn't want a process that you're not running anymore because it's still in the book from 5 years ago and you don't even have that system. Correct. Part of the process is cleaning the processes up.
Mm-hmm. Delete and update.
Yep.
And it's easier than ever.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything else we should have talked about but didn't get a chance to?
Well, I just want to kind of go back to where we started. And I really think that business owners need to think about this. Think about one of your friends. Think about somebody who you know personally that has been through divorce, that has been through a car accident and had to be out of their business for 6 months. Think about somebody who's passed away unexpectedly and had to leave their business, maybe not in the best shape. These kind of things can happen. So it's one thing and say, I'm not going to retire for 10 or 15 years. I don't need to do this now. Being exit ready is just good business strategy. So when you start looking at this kind of thing, clean up those processes, clean up your books, clean up everything that goes around the clarity of your business as an outsider would see it. Because when your business is clear from the outside, it's got the most valuable not only to somebody else, but to you. That's going to give you your freedom. That's going to give you the choice as to where you want. Remember the love it or leave it, or you called it, what did you call it? Love it and?
Loves and drains.
Loves and drains. You can, when you're working in the area that's most beneficial for your business and you're loving work, this is why some people want to sell their business, because they're like, I'm just done with this because I don't want to make the decisions anymore. Well, it's usually because they never let anybody make the decisions. They've never set these things up and they get so frustrated. They get to the boiling point where they just want out. Once we take them back to where they really love it, a lot of times they don't actually want out. They just want it out of the day to day. They wanted to move from detail to dashboard. And this is the way to do that, by getting your business exit ready so that you can move from detail to dashboard. You can enjoy the profits of your business. You can enjoy the life that you want to leave as a business owner. And I know you used to say this on your podcast. I think you probably still do, but business owners are the backbones of their communities. And one of the things that you can do when you have your business running is you can spend more time in your community, helping your community. And that's what I love about it too.
And that is so true. And all of these things also make for a better workplace. So you're helping your employees, and they make you more profitable so you can pay them more and attract better people. So It all kind of fits together, and everyone doesn't realize this stuff all goes together. And it goes together quite nicely when you put it all together. Thank you so much for joining us today. If people would like to connect with you, learn more about you and your services, how do they do that?
Best way is head on over to my website. It's a long one. My company's called Simplifying Entrepreneurship. So simplifyingentrpreneurship.com. There's a resource page there with all sorts of downloads and ebooks and a couple of assessments around Are You Exit Ready? So lots of different stuff that we are going to have there for you if you want to check out a little bit more about what we've been talking about today.
And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Rocky. It's great to spend some time with you and your listeners again here a couple of years later.
What takeaways and framework can you use from this episode or start to explore so that you work less, make more, and have a business that, should you decide to sell, is sellable at a much more valuable amount than what you would get if you are the centerpiece of it? It's really about thinking differently about your business and truly being a business owner. And that's what we want for you, because that provides freedom and income to enjoy the freedom. Because at the end of the day, you don't need more resources. You need to be more resourceful. And remember to focus on the bottom line, because that's what people who buy businesses are focused on.
If you'd like for us to be a part of your profitability journey, we have different programs available ranging from do-it-yourself to one-on-one coaching. Our course, The Profit Blueprint, teaches you everything you need to know to transform your profitability. There are 3 different tiers ranging from DIY to done with you, so that businesses of all sizes can get the support that's best. Join the waitlist in the show notes to get more information and be a part of the next cohort. If you want a done-for-you service, you can hire us as your Chief Profitability Officers. We only work with a handful of clients, so they all get our full attention. We work with business owners who have or are growing to $500,000 to $10 million in revenue. You can use the scheduling link in the show notes to get on our calendar for a good fit conversation to see if we're the right people to support you and how we can help you.
Remember to check out my other podcast, Richer Soul, where we talk about how to live the ultimate life and be the best business owner you can be. As we close out, let's repeat the mantra. Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. Have an abundant and profitable week.